I'm told that we have a liberal media in this country. Laugh along with me. This media is completely establishment media. They protect the establishment in every way. Conservatives say the most outrageous things all the time, never get challenged on it. The minute that President Obama or Hillary Clinton says something to even slightly challenge the Republicans, and even if they don't, no, you should have been kinder to the Republicans. How dare you? How dare you? Okay. Now I'm going to give you some examples of that. That's why we're doing this segment. Now, President Obama gives a speech about, hey, we have to be smart in how we attack ISIS. We're going to use special forces. We're continuing to do our bombing runs. But Mark Halperin, who is as much of a establishment media figure as there is, I mean, you want to get the nonsense conventional wisdom of Washington, it brews in his mind, right? I mean, he talks about the chattering class in this clip. He is the chattering class, right? He's one of the purveyors of this nonsense, garbage. What part of this is the liberal media? It's a joke, right? So he comes on the Today Show on NBC after the president's speech and says this garbage.
Are you surprised that in this speech he didn't offer anything new in terms of strategy or policy, that it was basically stay the course?
I'm surprised by that. I'm also surprised that he didn't do a good enough job, or maybe any job, of reaching out to Republicans. This is a time when we need national unity. We're in the middle of a presidential campaign. He's leaving office in a little over a year. The reaction from Republicans, as Andrew said, uniformly bad, not just the presidential candidates, but the Capitol Hill leaders. I think nothing new and no sense of bipartisanship, not good for the country. Look, this is the fundamental responsibility of Washington, to protect the country, to protect American interests abroad. And when the president comes out, gives a speech, and then it becomes just politics, it becomes for the chattering class, I think that's a failure of leadership of both parties, but the president's got the primary responsibility now. And you would like a world, like after 9/11, where the president addresses the country, says we're in crisis, and Republicans say, we're going to put partisanship aside for a moment and work with them. That's not what we're seeing.
So wait a minute. But the president didn't do anything about politics. He didn't say anything about politics. He didn't make it political. The Republicans immediately jumped all over him and made it political. And you say he didn't reach out to Republicans enough? Listen how the Republicans reacted right after the speech. Let's see if they reached out to Obama.
What he's saying is nonsense. It simply doesn't exist with the facts, because he has created this narrative that everybody is against Muslims. That's not the case. But we are against Islamic jihadists.
And nothing that happened in this speech tonight is going to assuage people's fears. First of all, we heard tonight that the same strategy that has brought us to this point is the strategy he is going to continue with.
He didn't lay out anything new, and he spent more time talking about what we shouldn't do than what we should.
I would go on offense. We have 3,500 American troops in Iraq. I would go up to 10,000, so we'd have the capability to reinforce the Iraqi security forces to destroy ISIL inside of Iraq.
It was a speech about nothing. It was almost like a Jerry Seinfeld episode.
We're at war with radical Islamic terrorism, and this president continues to deny that, and so does Hillary Clinton.
What did Hillary Clinton have anything to do with that speech from the Oval Office? No, here's how the Republicans reach out, with the back of their hand. And they see that and they think that's the president's fault. Mark Halperin, the so-called liberal media, NBC, so-called liberal media. That's the president's fault for getting slapped around like that. But he didn't attack them, they attacked him. Nope, it's not their fault. Don't blame the Republicans. Don't blame the Republicans, blame the Democrats. Don't you ever fight back. In fact, you should preemptively, before they criticize you, because you know they're going to criticize you no matter what you say, in this speech, you should have made it political and reach out to Republicans. But wait a minute, I did over 5,000 bombing runs over ISIS. I'm bombing their oil structures. I'm bombing their buildings. I've got special force on the ground. What else can I do? Meet them halfway, maybe nuclear. I mean, what is meeting them halfway? Ground troops. But I've already got 3,300 troops. Well, maybe 10,000 or 50,000. All right, start another war, halfway. Just in Syria, but not in Iraq, or just in Iraq and not in Syria. How the hell is he supposed to meet these guys halfway? And how in the world is it his fault that there's a divisiveness in Washington? But not just Obama. Here's Charlie Rose yelling at Hillary Clinton over a similar theme. Watch.
But you know, a lot of people think the biggest problem for America is Washington. That's the problem. And that's part of reflected in some of the politics that we see.
Yes, that's true. But look at the way our founders set it up. They set up this separation of powers, and they made it really difficult to get things done. And some years it's really hard. And we're in one of these periods where we have a minority within the other party that doesn't believe in compromise, doesn't believe in reaching consensus. They
But there
truly
you go attacking them. That's not the way to do it.
No, because part of what you have to do is make it clear to everyone else who is in that party that there is room.
Are you kidding me, man? There you go attacking them. What do the Republicans do? They attack nonstop over nonsense, over things that are fabricated. And why don't you ever call them out on it, Charlie Rose? When's the last time you interrupted in the middle of a Republican and go, hey, there you go again, attacking the Democrats? They'd laugh in your face. Of course I attack Democrats. They deserve to be attacked. That's how they would handle it. So, but the minute a Democrat tries to defend themselves for 1 second, hey, cut it out. Don't attack the Republicans. Where's the liberal media? Where's the liberal media? I haven't seen it. Okay, there is no liberal media. And this is part of the game that's played. Everything's 50-50, even though these guys are monsters and yell at the top of their lungs. I'm going to call it even between those guys and the ones that are being attacked. And every once in a while meekly say, well, they are actually filibustering more than others. That they're creating obstruction. How dare you? That's the problem. You're the problem. Don't ever attack the Republicans. Where the fuck is the liberal media? Where is it? I don't see it. No. These are all establishment guys. They love the system as it is. They're all enormously rich off the system that exists. The media that are all millionaires sitting there, they love the system. They don't want any Democrat or any progressive ever upsetting that system. They don't have any problem with the demagogues like Ted Cruz and Donald Trump and all the monsters on that side, and they just want to call it even. Oh, well, Trump says, hey, maybe we should kick out all the Muslims from the country. He says, yeah, maybe he likes people who weren't captured in war, like John McCain. He likes women who aren't bleeding from different places. Let's call it even. No, that isn't liberal. As being part of the establishment media, it's actually deeply conservative. Conservative in the sense of let's maintain the current status quo. Why does the media want to maintain the status quo? Because it's made them incredibly wealthy. You think they want to change that? You think they want to tip that apple cart over? No, those are their apples. They love them apples. So if a progressive ever challenges that apple cart, they are ferocious in attacking them. If conservatives keep on going with that apple cart, they applaud. Oh, I'm just being neutral. That's what they say. The media is a lot of things, but liberal ain't one of them. Young Turks.